My name is Dawn Norman, and I'm a full-time freelance makeup artist, and I currently go under the company name of Edit Faces. In the future, I'd like to change that to dawnbliss.com. In the 70s, all my aunts were Avon ladies. So I used to play with their little miniature lipsticks, eyeshadows, and I was just fascinated by how beautiful the images were. And I was fascinated that people wanted something that was so beautiful and colorful and fun. I just seemed to have a natural inclination towards beautiful things. It started with a thought, really, as all dreams do. It started with a thought, and I worked for a salon. I was in demand as a makeup artist. I was a manager of the department for 11 years, and I worked with the salon for 19 years. And I just kind of felt like I was burnt out, and I found myself repeating the same things to my clients, thinking the same things, and just wanting more. And the more I thought about it, eventually I started seeking out resources, talking about it, writing things down, and then very abruptly I was let go from my position because my freelance business became too big, and it became a conflict of interest. And so I was just thrust into the world of full-time entrepreneurship overnight. You don't discover things about yourself necessarily until you're put in that position. I found myself lost, and I've been freelancing full-time for a year, and it's still an obstacle for me. And only now am I realizing, by asking questions and by associating with people who went before me, who I'm now considering mentors, who went before me and have been in the same position. Now I look at their days, and I do see that there's consistency amongst highly successful professionals. You definitely have to wake up with a purpose and intention. You have to stay positive. You have to cultivate certain disciplines, like having a planner and scheduling out, each hour of your day for certain activities, and really treating it as if you're going into an office. My inspiration are my friends like Keith Ward, Aga Kaskowitz, Juan Jose Herrera, Kirsten Bryant. These are all people who, we all were makeup artists at the salon at one point. And now, some are signed to agencies, others are doing big things with commercial photographers, doing Fashion Week, launching their own product lines. And they're really honest with me about what it took to get there, and they're willing to share their advice. So my goal broadly for this year is to really interact with the community in Chicago, makeup artists, photographers, hairstylists, event planners, wedding planners, all these things, to really follow through and to be known on a name basis with some of these reps. And I want to start doing commercial photography, which means I want to do photo shoots in order to be considered for an agency, for instance, Ford or Factor or Wilhelmina, any of these. In order to be considered for any of these agencies, you need a portfolio. So while I have thousands of pictures of my clients that I took myself, and some from photographers, it doesn't really qualify me to work at an agency and start doing models. So, the next step is to contact photographers and perhaps work for free and do makeup for photo shoots just to get those images. I've already purchased several domains around the name Dawn Bliss. I'm going to go back to that name because it's great branding, and who doesn't want to be Dawn Bliss? So I'm going back to that, and I'm going to fill that website up. It's going to be a more commercially driven website. So there are definitely action steps I need to take to that end result. I'd also love to participate in Fashion Week next year. And I've done fashion shows, and they're chaotic, they're wild, but at the same time, like Fashion Week is on a whole nother level, and everyone that I know that participates in that, they leave, they're so enlightened, they're so juiced up for the next year, they're so full of energy and of passion. And it's important as an entrepreneur, you have to do things that are constantly feeding into that passion. Otherwise, you sort of just wither up and die, and it just becomes a business. You might as well just stay working, for someone else. Individual beauty is celebrated, and I can relate to so many different people because I'm like multi-ethnic, I'm biracial, and so I have compassion for people who don't feel beautiful, who don't fit in. And so like it fuels me further to show them like how beautiful they can be and how I see them. So I was telling a friend, I said, when I look at someone and they say, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so this, and I'm like, well, I think you're beautiful too. I see an image in my head and I work backwards towards that image. So when they look in the mirror and they're flabbergasted, I'm like, well, this is how I saw you when I walked in the door. You just weren't there yet. And so, this crazy hair of mine, this hair that, was the bane of my existence is now my brand. I can go anywhere from behind. I was in a parking lot yesterday in Lisle, and someone came up to me and she said, you're that makeup artist. I recognize you from Facebook. So now this has become my brand. It's such a beautiful thing how God uses something that, we don't see the beauty and the potential in ourselves, and he sees us as something different, and he leads us there. I think the greatest advice is to be yourself, but like 2.0. So to market yourself, to really examine what it was that influenced you your entire life. What are the consistencies? What have you been drawn to? What are you attracted to? What do you find yourself spending your time doing without getting paid for it? And so I would have to say, for anyone who's looking to broaden their horizons, like you just have to be open and get out of your own way. And I had a friend, I thought because I'm creative, because I'm outgoing, because I'm flamboyant in the way I dress, all these things, I thought that I was open. And he confronted me and he held my hand open like this. No, actually closed my hand like this. And then he opened it and he put a quarter in my hand and he closed my hand. And he said, this is you. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, you're closed. And I didn't understand, I'm like, I'm not closed. Have you seen me? Like, I'm not exactly conservative. And he said, it's not the same thing. You're closed. So you're closed off, which is why, you find yourself struggling internally with growth. Well, right now, I'm kind of all over the place, but my website is www.editfaces.com. I'm on Instagram under editfaces. I'm currently on Facebook as Dawn Norman, and I'm also on Yelp and as Edit Faces, and then I'm on the Wedding Wire and the Knot also as Edit Faces.